At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger. Look at the high temperatures we saw out there yesterday. We did see a high of 109 degrees, which did not break a record. The old record for the Reading Airport, or Reading in general, was 1961 with a high of 113 degrees. Today, the record high was 108, so we didn't break that record. 99 in Chico, we did actually see a bit of a delta breeze. That kept things a little bit cooler there. We're going to talk a little bit more detail about that delta breeze and what it means and how that all happens and works. And there you can see along the coast, upper 50s for your daytime highs. We got Tracy Sackett checking in this morning. She's saying, good morning. Well, good morning to you as well. So glad you could join us this morning, and glad you all could join as well. Taking a look at a time lapse from our Divine Sky camera here, and this is looking at some of the high clouds that we did see kind of filter in later on yesterday afternoon and evening. Even a few mid-level clouds tried to move in. Of course, didn't bring us any rainfall. It just made for a gorgeous sunset. We take a look at the image out there right now, a live shot from our Divine Sky cam. And it looks like we are seeing some of those high clouds still kind of out there in some areas here across Northern California. Lake Shastina, a little bit of that haze at the base of the mountain there. This is Lake Shastina Golf Resort, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. We're looking at Crescent City Harbor District. It's still some signs of some of that fog that we're seeing out there this morning. And take a look at this. Tim Moore sent this picture from the Free Weather NorCal app. A sunset out in Lookout, California. Wow, look at those gorgeous, gorgeous colors coming in from those clouds. As I mentioned, Tim used the Free Weather NorCal app to send his photos. We got a lot of great photo opportunities, whether it's sunsets, sunrises, flowers, your pets, whatever. Send them, share them from the Free Weather NorCal app, and you just might see them right here on Coffee with Krueger and on the morning update as well. Let's take a look at your Krueger's Quick Cast. And there you can see we've got temperatures once again on the mild side. Temperatures 40s and 50s for the higher elevations. And it looks like we do have, of course, you saw the fog that we are seeing in Crescent City based on the Harbor District cam. Jackie Dixon in Trinidad is saying clear skies on the coast this morning, at least where she is, right? But take a look at the visibility. Crescent City a mile and Eureka down to 0 mile visibility. So it just depends on where you are. So it looks like we are seeing some patchy clearing out there this morning. Thank you, Jackie, for that update. Taking a look at our Skeeter meter. Of course, it's on a 2.2 on a scale of 0 to 5. I want to thank Shasta Mosquito and Vector Control for the Skeeter meter. You can call them if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about mosquitoes in your area. You've got the number right there on your screen. Let's take a look at your forecast out the door this morning. Mild start. I'd expect that many of us may even be up to 80 degrees by the 8 o'clock hour here. Otherwise in the 60s, even some 70s for the higher elevations. We still have an extreme heat warning for parts of the valley, and a heat advisory through this evening should be allowed to expire at that point, as we are going to start to see signs of cooler air moving in. You're noticing it today, and we're really going to notice it later this week as high pressure that we're seeing now begins to break down. So we have a bit of a delta breeze, south wind today. That's going to allow our temperatures to drop a bit and give us some relief. Now, Chico, you dodged the triple digits yesterday. You're going to most likely do that again today. Still 100 degrees or higher for north of that, especially Reading, Red Bluff. But take a look at Weaverville. Take a look at Hayfork. It's actually warmer there than it is in Chico. Once again, because Weaverville, Hayfork, Willow Creek, all the mountains, inland areas, not impacted by the delta breeze. And as a result, it's warmer sometimes in the higher elevations than parts of the valley. So another mild night tonight, generally low 70s in the valley, 50s and 60s for the higher elevations, and mid 50s for the coast. There's your 7-day outlook. Generally looking at the temperatures dropping, should be in the upper 80s by Friday. Now take note, Friday's the best potential for us to see maybe some mountain thunderstorms here and lightning strikes, which may elevate that fire weather risk here as we get toward the end of the week. Now, some indications that even as early as Thursday, we may see some mountain showers and thunderstorms developing as well. So that's something we're going to be watching very closely. Let's take a look at the fire weather outlook. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So first and foremost, I usually like to start with the winds because that's really a good gauge of where we are when it comes to the overall fire weather risk. Now, today, tomorrow, a little breezy at times, but nothing unusual. Now, what you'll notice, look at Thursday. Yes, the winds are picking up in the valley, but look where they're coming from. They're coming from the south. Now, that's still dry for us, right? But at least it's not coming from the north. South winds tend to have a little bit more moisture content, and that keeps our humidity levels up. On top of that, keeps the temperatures down. That also helps. And temperatures are not going to be nearly as warm by the time we get into Friday. So with that said, you see the winds, that's a concern. Now, a lot of the winds you're seeing in the mountains, especially to the east, those are most likely thunderstorm induced. And we'll take a closer look at that here in just a bit. But look at their fire weather risk and humidity. So humidity today, down to the single digits, about 10%. Still have the moderate to high category with those deeper oranges in the valley. But look what's happening over the next few days. Wednesday, Thursday, we are seeing that fire weather risk a little bit lower, and especially going into Friday. And again, that's because temperatures are dropping and more of that wind coming from the south, keeping those humidity levels up just a little bit as a result. Now, here's another thing. I'm talking about the potential for thunderstorms. So yellow, we're typically green and yellow. That's little risk, basically, for fire potential. When we start seeing signs of maybe some heat or the winds picking up a little bit or very dry conditions or even the potential for thunderstorms, it gets bumped up to a moderate risk. And you can see mainly east of the valley, you see that? Now, I have a suspicion that by Thursday or Friday, as we get closer to Thursday, Friday, the areas that are shaded in brown now may actually be shaded in red with an L, because I do think we're going to see the potential for lightning strikes and dry lightning at that. And that is obviously going to be the big concern. And there's another look at that beautiful shot sent to us by Tim Moore, looking at the sunset in Lookout, California. Once again, I want to thank Tim Moore for sending in that photo, and you can send your photos from the free Weather NorCal app. Do it today. You just might see it right here on Coffee with Krueger. All right, as you know, we've got sponsors here at Weather NorCal, because what you're watching for free of charge would not be possible without our sponsors, including Wind River Resort and Casino. Before we get into those weather headlines, I want to show you some of the events that they've got going on. This Friday, don't forget, they have got the 12th Annual Bacon and Brew Fest, so be sure to get your tickets now if you haven't done so already. They've also got some big-time entertainment coming up. Look at this. Friday, July 24th, you've got Ian Munsick coming in. You've also got Uncle Kracker, August 14th. Tickets are on sale for Tracy Lawrence on June 22nd. Let's see when the actual show itself is. September 5th. All right, so if you're a big Tracy Lawrence fan, you're good there. Also, comedian Matt Matthews. You know, a while back when they announced this, there was one showing, but there was so much demand that they have 2 showings. So be sure to get your tickets there and get those early as well. All right, let's take a look at our weather headlines. The cooling trend starts today. Now, the heat advisory and the warning will expire this evening. Below 100 degrees in the valley by Thursday for everyone, although we've already seen that for Chico. Chico has yet to hit 100 degrees today or yesterday, or today, most likely as well. Possible mountain showers and thunderstorms Thursday and Friday. So let's get into that in our deeper dive forecast. Now, let's start off with the temperatures, right? We typically do that. Temperatures are in the low 70s. Yeah, it's a mild start to the day, and that's the way it's been the last several mornings. We've got 50s and 60s for the higher elevations, a bit cooler in El Tourist at about 47 degrees right now, and right around 50 for the coast. Now, visibility, yeah, we're seeing the fog like we've seen the last few mornings along the coast. That'll most likely burn off. In fact, one of our viewers in Trinidad saying it's clear skies there. So we are seeing more in the way of that patchy fog along parts of the coast, but that would be an indication that we may see some of that clearing. Now, that fog that we are seeing along the coast, that is having an impact on our temperatures. We have what's kind of a classic setup for a delta breeze. Cool air along the coast from that marine layer. Now what happens is you've got a lot of heat in the valley. Temperatures over 100 degrees, right? So what happens is that kind of acts as low pressure and high pressure, because the low pressure is that rising air from the heat, and the high pressure is sinking air from the cool. So what happens is you've got the mountains here, right? That usually what kind of differentiates the difference in temperatures from the coast, mountains, and the valley, because the mountains kind of keep, for the most part, that marine air from coming into the valley. But there's this nice little opening right here, the delta, right? So what we see happen is this, as that cooler air and that low pressure, high pressure, and winds blow from high to low, so that cooler air moves to the delta and then heads to the south in the San Joaquin Valley and then heads to the north in the Sacramento Valley. Now, I want you to think of this cooler air moving in like an ice cube. So it starts off nice and cool on the delta, still stays fairly cool around places like Sacramento, but then as it starts heading northward, what happens is that ice cube begins to melt and the impact of the delta breeze is less than that to the south. So again, we're 73 degrees out in Oakland. That's the source of that cooler air coming in from the marine air. Then you get into the valley around Sacramento, right? We start seeing those low 90s. But then that ice cube begins to melt. Upper 90s for places like Chico and Oroville. And then we take you out towards Red Bluff and Redding. And a lot of times that ice cube melts entirely and you don't see much of an impact at all. But instead of 109 that we saw yesterday, we're going to be more like 103 degrees for Redding. So just kind of give you an idea of why we are seeing some of that relief from the heat, and it's partially due because of the delta breeze, but also the ridge of high pressure creating this heat is also showing signs of getting weaker. That being said, there still is an extreme heat warning for most of the valley through this evening, as well as that heat advisory for the mountains. So again, we've got this big ridge of high pressure that's in place. It's getting weaker because we've got some colder air that's going to be riding over that heat over the next few days. So a slight drop going into Wednesday, and then by Thursday, Friday, we start to see that cooler air riding over that ridge. Temperatures start to drop as a result, and we keep it that way going into next week. However, even though we see a nice dip in our temperatures by Friday, Saturday, upper 80s, low 90s in the valley, we're going to be back up to about 100 degrees after that. But the Climate Prediction Center is still putting us in that warmer than normal category here over the next 10 days or so. And speaking of that, there's that nice dip in the temperatures, right around or just below normal by Friday, Saturday, and then temperatures kind of averaging out around 100 degrees after that for Sunday and most likely through all of next week. So we'll still be about 8 degrees above average for this time of the year. We'll say about 5 to 10 degrees above average for the valley here as we go through next week. So yes, even though we are seeing temperatures drop, the ridge of high pressure that we're seeing now is exceptionally large, exceptionally strong, and that's why it's been getting so hot. But the ridge, the heat that's in our area, isn't going to be allowed to really expand much stronger than those triple digits that we'll see in the valley. Let's talk about the European forecast model and its projections for any showers or thunderstorms later this week. I think Thursday, it's mainly going to be along the spine of the Sierra, but we may even see a little bit of activity in parts of the southern Cascades. So for example, Modoc County, parts of Siskiyou County may see a straight shower or thunderstorm. Now what's interesting is, check this out. By Friday, we may see enough of a disturbance and enough moisture that the valley may get caught up in some of that activity here by early Friday. And then Friday afternoon, you can see all of the mountains have that potential for showers and thunderstorms by the time we go into Friday afternoon. Now, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I don't anticipate any more of that instability, and temperatures will start to increase again as a result. All right, so now let's take a look at Futurecast. This is our in-house forecast model. It's on what we call a tighter grid, so it can really pick up on a lot of the nuances with our topography around here a lot better than that of the European forecast model. So let's see what it's showing for now, all right? So today, tomorrow, we're not talking rain, right? But by Thursday, check this out. Here we go into Thursday. You see that? Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen, Plumas. So I would say mainly to the north and east of the valley. But places like Bernie, Paradise, even Chester may have a hard time getting in on this. It's not going to be until Friday that we could see that potential. Now, look at Friday morning. This is the time frame that the European forecast model is showing some instability coming into parts of the valley. Our in-house forecast model is saying not so much. So it looks like it really wants to focus a lot of its energy to the east and to the north. But as I mentioned, I do think Friday we could see the potential for some of that activity working its way into Trinity County and really all of the mountains surrounding the valley on Friday. And then, as I mentioned, by Saturday, that should pretty much be moving out. But overall, take a look at the Climate Prediction Center's precipitation outlook, drier than normal conditions. So let's take a look at our lake levels because, yeah, we're still seeing about a quarter to a half a foot drop in a matter of 24 hours each day. But that drop is not enough for us to really see any major concern because we're still well above normal of that historical average. Now, the wave heights since yesterday have increased. And this is something I talked about yesterday, that those higher wave heights are going to basically mean small craft advisory. So starting noon today through the afternoon, there is a small craft advisory, and I do anticipate that we'll probably see another one for tomorrow. And there you can see your neighborhood forecast, sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. All right, temperatures, yeah, upper 90s, about 100 degrees here for Trinity County. But you see what's happening? By Thursday, Friday, temperatures dropping. And on Friday, I have included at the very least a chance for a stray shower. For the North Coast, do note that there is a coastal flood advisory for late tonight into early tomorrow morning, as we've seen the last few mornings. So just be aware of that. But otherwise, we are looking at those drier conditions here for the North Coast. Inland areas, I'm going to keep you dry as well. Maybe on Friday, if at all any chances, but otherwise just cooler by Friday and Saturday. Siskiyou County, I'm giving you a chance for showers Thursday, maybe a thunderstorm on Friday, and then drying out and staying cool as we go into Saturday. Modoc County, you're talking low to mid 90s for your daytime highs, 89 degrees for Cedarville. Eastern Mountains, showers, possible thunderstorms Thursday and Friday, and then by Saturday, Sunday, it dries out. Your valley neighborhood forecast, yeah, Delta breeze, keeping it cooler as you head to the south. Look at Gridley, 96, 99 degrees for Chico, and Orland about 98 degrees. Chico, your 7-day forecast should stay below 100 degrees for the next 7 days, much cooler as we go into Friday, Saturday. First day of summer and Father's Day is on Sunday, so two things to celebrate, if you will. 103 degrees for Redding, 104 out in Anderson, 102 out in Red Bluff, and Palisadro about 103 today. There's your 7-day forecast for Redding. Now again, temperatures are starting to slowly drop. We may struggle to get out of the 80s on Friday. We'll certainly take that. And as mentioned, maybe a chance for a few showers coming into Friday morning, possibly afternoon as well. But there you go. Let's take a look at this. We have got some people that have kind of checked in since I kind of went into our deeper dive forecast. And we've got Curtis Brown saying, "Good morning, Mike. I measured 114 degrees yesterday." A bit of that might be from reflectivity of the bare ground. Yeah, but still, I don't doubt it. But yeah, that might be a little bit overdoing it here. But still, listen, like you say, about 110 degrees most likely. Jeff Johnson saying good morning. We've got Tom saying good morning from West Trinity County. Clear and 65 right now. Was a cooker yesterday at 116. Actually, he's saying 110. I think he fixed that. That sounds about right. And then Tracy saying rain would be nice. Not so much. The thunderstorms, not so much. I live in the woods, so fires are a big concern. Absolutely. We got to watch that. And that's the thing that I'm going to be watching here as we do go into the end of the week, Thursday and Friday in particular. I have a feeling as we get closer to Friday, we're going to be talking more and more about that potential. And the Weather Service may get on board with maybe a fire weather watch, maybe a red flag warning. We'll see. We're still a few days out. We're going to really start to fine tune where we expect some of those thunderstorms. But, we talk about these high base thunderstorms in the mountains. And a lot of times you can have what we call dry lightning or dry thunderstorms. That is, these thunderstorms develop, they're high based, and it's so dry at the surface that a lot of times that rain evaporates before reaching the ground, but you still get lightning strikes. And that's what we talk about when we're talking dry lightning strikes. That being said, many times it still makes its way to the ground, light rain or even heavy rainfall, but you can still many times get lightning strikes outside of the main rain core, and where it's not raining, you can get lightning strikes as well. And those are the ones that are of bigger concern as well. Yeah, Tom is saying 116 was a typo. Yeah, 110 sounds more like it. And of course, Chris Burns saying, now that is hot. 100%. But yeah, I would say for some of these areas that were kind of showing over 110, you were probably closer to 110 for your daytime high. Reading saw a high of 109. So yeah, to see 110, yeah, not out of the question there. All right, folks, that is going to do it for us today. Thank you all so much for checking in this morning. We are going to continue to watch that potential for showers and thunderstorms. I'll have updates at noon and again this evening and through the next couple of days. Be sure to keep it right here to Weather NorCal because I'll keep you informed with what's going on with that and all of the details on the heat wave, the cooler weather, and that potential for thunderstorms. Until then, until we see you tomorrow, until we see you throughout the day today, have yourselves a great day, stay cool, and we'll see you around.